And there we are back again, guys, to discussing different diets we can take. Today the vegan diet, next week calorie counting and carnivore diets and stuff like that, and then the conclusion. Enjoy! Okay, there we go now, the fun stuff. The different diets. I'll start with the one that's most common in the world now, again, but I'll keep it very brief because I think you guys get the idea by now. The SAD diet, the SAD diet, the Standard American Diet. What does it mean for your system? Caloric overload. If you eat a lot of the Standard American Diet stuff, the processed stuff that's in the supermarket, the cheap seed oils that restaurants use to make your food, pretty much everything that has a long list of ingredients, unless you know every natural little ingredient. Like I have like a very good natural avocado oil mayonnaise with like 4 or 5 ingredients in the fridge, perfectly fine. It doesn't mean that everything from a factory is bad. It just means that 99% of stuff from the factory is bad. We could call this from now on over-processed stuff. So processed can be fine. Over-processed means too much. You destroyed it, basically. You destroyed the nutrients, you took out the nutrients, and these foods became toxic. 60-70% of the caloric intake of Americans nowadays comes from these over-processed foods. Mostly sugar, over-processed carbs like white flour, other grains, pasta, and seed oils. This is bad, and this is what we can see in disease numbers, disease rates that have gone up like absurdly over the last 50-60 years. So whatever diet you take, whatever you do, stay away from this diet. Stay away from the standard American food with long ingredient list of over processed junk. This includes Beyond Meat with seed oils, for example, fake meats. Anyway, enough on the sad diet, very sad diet. What did people come up with to counter that? Some diets that have been around like for a very long time, like the Mediterranean diet or paleo, whatever. Mostly whole foods, focus on healthy fat, stuff like that. All sounds great. I don't want to go into it too much because there's a lot of varieties in there. I'll end this video with one certain type that I like of those diets. For now, I'll try to go quickly over the rest of diets that I do like or don't like. Number one, I have to get it out of the way, is the vegan diet, the vegan lifestyle. I've been a hardcore vegan myself for over 2 years, or around 2 years. It didn't end too well, but that's not necessarily only because I ate a vegan diet, also because of mindset and stress, and life was just difficult back then, which is fine, we all have those periods. I was not happy with it. I actually think the vegan diet is a pretty bad diet to go after because I've explained this now earlier, micronutrients. Like you want to feed your genes the type of foods that it evolved on for like the last couple million years. You want to give it the nutrients that it expects to get to have your genes behave optimally. Because how we're used to behave, how our genes are used to behave was pretty optimal. And not as primitive as we thought. As a matter of fact, if you start screwing around with how those genes behave, we see that this has pretty bad results in terms of disease rates and I would even say happiness numbers. You know, people are struggling, like I think a lot more than is necessary. Anyway, the vegan diet, I think it's very low in nutrients, micronutrients, and especially in protein and healthy fats. Why did we start thinking this was a good idea? Again, this is very much based upon the knowledge that it's bad to eat animals to begin with, which I think it is not. This knowledge, this conviction comes from parties that were either trying to sell you something, or like the processed food industry that was trying to sell you carbs, processed carbs that are everywhere. Or it comes from even further sources, the religious sources that were convinced that killing animals for food was actually bad, And a funny detail in this is that Sir Kellogg's, you know, the one from the cornflakes, was also came also from this school, the Seventh Day Adventist. He was actually so crazy that he didn't even touch his own wife in his lifetime because he found this equally sinful as eating meat. Just to give you guys a little background on why we've been made to believe, what process has helped to make us believe that eating animals is bad. I think by now, being a recovered vegan, to say it that way, that eating animals is the thing you need to do to keep your genes and to keep your system happy. As a matter of fact, it's not only by far the best way, it's the only way that we evolved upon. And in my from my period of being vegan, I can even remember that there was a discussion if human beings are meant to eat meat, like physically and from health perspective. This all seems like extremely weird now for me after all the work I've put in. Like, we are literally fat hunters. Like the modern humans, the Homo sapiens, we have only been able to evolve into what we are now, like smart, strong, way more intelligent than all the other animals, walking upright creatures with a brain that is like insanely much bigger and costs a lot of energy than, for example, gorillas who are eating a lot of plant matter. We managed to outsource the digestion of plant foods, of stuff that for 90% is not even digestible by the human gut anymore. A lot of fiber, like cows, like they can digest this stuff. We cannot. We outsourced this, and then we were very efficient in eating the animals that digested those that plant matter for us, which allowed us to focus on other stuff, on building a big brain and learning how to walk upright, stuff like other animals are not doing. Like a gorilla, okay, he walks upright, but he needs a lot of his energy to actually digest his food. He's just grazing like 20 kilos of plant matter every day. This is not a good comparison for us. Um, we are very different, and with very good reasons. We need those animal fats to actually do what we do. And if you come up with examples from like vegan bodybuilders or vegan athletes, even worse, like the Game Changers documentary that just came out, it's completely filled with like incorrect facts and misinformation and fake science to show us that we don't need those animal fats. Like, believe me, don't go after sources like that are not objective. They will literally bring down your chances of being healthy and happy because you follow advice that allows them to just sell their product. Like, the producer of the video of the documentary is James Cameron. He has like 140 million euro or dollar invested in a pea protein factory. He's just trying to promote his business. It's completely fine, but don't take that like seriously as nutrition advice. Like, he's not a scientist, far from it. Please follow all the people in my nutrition Twitter list and get a much broader idea of whether we should eat animals or not, and whether we need those micronutrients to be healthy and happy. I think we do. Okay, with veganism out of the way, and I know the discussion is not closed. There is a lot more to say about that, but that's just my opinion. Oh, by the way, it's not as bad as people think it is for the planet. Of course, I'm against factory farming. That's bad for the animals and probably also, yes, bad for the environment. I'm definitely an advocate of local farming, regenerative farming, in which the animals have a good life and the planet is not treated badly. That's a whole different form of working with animals than factory farming. So I also don't even want to talk about us as humanity not being allowed to work together with those animals anymore. I think that discussion should actually be closed by everybody that reads up about it, that studies it a lot. Of course, you can have the personal conviction that you don't want to eat animals. That's personally fine. Of course, I respect that. I have a lot of vegan friends, completely fine. But don't try to change the food system that the rest of, well, the population depends upon. That was it, guys, for now, otherwise it gets too long again. Next week we'll be off to carnivore diets and calorie counting, which is flexible dieting. And then a conclusion of what I think is best for who, because it's not the same for everybody. Thanks for watching!